My parents go to church, but they don't take me to church. And the reason why is because I fall asleep in class. It isn't like I could avoid doing that, but the funny thing is that there's been times in the past whenever people in their class would ask me to come and be with them because I have good insights and I offer something that kind of is outside the bounds of what people tend to think about things that are in the Bible. But I don't read the Bible because it affects me very deeply to the point where I can get really kind of depressed. And the depression is not really understanding what I read. And for me, I can see more dimension in the Bible than the average person can. And I'm better off just being inspired or coming up with things to be inspired by. So I'll watch Netflix or I'll watch Prime. I lost my Christian website, and the reason why is because it cost too much. The last bill came in, it was $400, and it was for 2 years of having that website up. I said it didn't make any sense because I need to be cutting back on my spending. So I dropped the Channel Z site. I still have the domain, I just don't have the website anymore. Didn't even bother to back it up. I just, probably not going to bring it back anyhow. And then my other site, 1980s Rocks, I probably will keep the domain, but I'm probably going to dump it as well because there's no point in having two Rock Me Abadeuses out there when one is not really being kept up to date. And even if I was to keep it up to date, what I'd have to do is I'd have to tell it to reload the data. I'd have to mirror the database. And first of all, my SQL, my database is so large on this site that MySQL can't even dump it to an SQL format for me to load in elsewhere. And so it just isn't maintainable as a database anymore because every single video I bring into it, I store all the stuff that I got from Google inside the database. I encode it and I stuff it in a blob. And a blob is a little section of a database that can be any size, and it's basically just a link to a bunch of data. And so databases don't manage data, they manage references to data. The data gets stored somewhere, but all it's really doing is juggling what are called identifiers, the pointers. A pointer is really just a piece of memory that contains as its value a reference to a piece of memory. And so it's kind of like putting an address, like a link on a web page link on a post-it note. That's a pointer. The pointer tells you go to this address, this web address to get somewhere. So those links are really pointers. And in computer, it uses a lot of pointers, and that's how it keeps track of where things are. It doesn't manage the data. It doesn't move the data around. It moves the links to the data around. If it really must move data somewhere, if it has to do it, it copies it from one place to another. So I think I'll stop this video here because these can get to be way too long.